I did a little bit of creeping, and I was waiting until we were recording to call this out because I think I have found my soul sister. Do you have in your bio that you're an elder emo and a concert junkie?
Oh my gosh. Yes. We could talk about this for hours. Yes. Let's do it.
Literally just stumbled on that because I was following your business page, and then I'm like, oh, I got to go follow her Courtney page. And I'm like, oh, I was like, we're meant to be. I am also an elder emo and a concert junkie. I just went to Rockville in Daytona.
I'm in Orlando, so it's an hour and a half away from me.
And the funny thing is, I'm actually going to Orlando again on Saturday. So I'm like, our whole episode's about making friends. And I'm like, I feel like I just found my soul sister. I haven't even talked to her yet. You guys are witnessing a friendship happen in real time. See, take our experience for what it's worth here. You're watching it. Welcome to Rise with Katie Marie. Think of this podcast like sitting down with a friend where we talk about healing, self-discovery, and stepping into the highest version of yourself. I'm Katie, your host and friend on this journey. Together, we'll talk about all the messy and beautiful parts of life, from heartbreak to healing, self-doubt to self-love, and everything in between. If you're looking for a cozy space to feel seen, heard, and inspired, you're in the right place. So, grab a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and let's rise together. Hello and welcome back to the show. Today we have a very exciting guest with us. This is Courtney, and I will let you introduce yourself to the people. So tell them what you're all about.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Katie. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Courtney, and I am the host of the Spritz Girl Mindset podcast, and I'm also a friendship and self-development coach. So I specifically work with mostly women, but pretty much everyone, but predominantly women in their 20s and 30s, looking to find their aligned people and share their story. That's kind of my whole thing. So I'm really excited to be here and to share with you guys about that today.
I love it. I'm so happy to have you here. And I did a little bit of creeping. And I was waiting until we were recording to call this out because I think I have found already my soul sister. Do you have in your bio that you're an elder emo and a concert junkie?
Oh my gosh. Yes. We could talk about this for hours. Yes. Let's do it.
Literally just stumbled on that because I was following your business page, and then I'm like, oh, I got to go follow her Courtney page. And I'm like, oh, I was like, we're meant to be. I am also an elder emo and a concert junkie. I just went to Rockville in Daytona. Yeah.
Are you in Florida or are you based somewhere else?
I'm in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada right now.
So you really travel, because Rockville, I'm in Orlando, so it's an hour and a half away from me.
And the funny thing is, I'm actually going to Orlando again on Saturday. So I'm like, our whole episode's about making friends. And I'm like, I feel like I just found my soul sister. I haven't even talked to her yet.
Period. Yeah, no, I'm a huge concert junkie. I love everything from screamo to pop punk to Taylor Swift. I will buy a plane ticket to go to a concert any day of the week. I'm actually going to When We Were Young Fest in October in Vegas.
I might be doing that too.
Okay, well, if you do, hit me up.
Hell yeah.
And Warped Tour in Orlando. So I'm that is my genre. That is my scene. I love it.
I'll see you there also.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh, we'll have to meet up.
100%, 1000%. That was so cool when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, the universe has blessed me. Sometimes when you just relinquish control and you let it happen, the right people will find you in the weirdest and most random ways. I never thought I'd be on a podcast with a friend from Orlando who is literally a soul sister already. So I'm very excited to dive into it. I'm so excited. Well, to kind of segue from that, I guess we'll start with my first question. So what led you to becoming a friendship and self-development coach? How did you get started in that journey? Tell the viewers and the listeners a little bit about the backstory, what led you here, and how you ended up here.
Yeah, so I actually have a very varied story, but my mantra in life has always been every person has a story, your story matters, and when you share it and bring it to the table, you never know who you're going to impact, right? So in my adult life, I've had many different jobs. I did jewelry sales for a while. I was a youth pastor in the church before I did my deconstruction journey within the church. Now I'm a salon manager during the day, and I don't do hair, but my whole job is helping behind the scenes and making people feel beautiful. And when I was really getting into the heart of who I am and what I love to do, I realized that it all kind of tied back to the same thing, which was helping people find their people and share their stories, right? The thing I loved about jewelry sales was it was so personal. You were literally connecting with someone's soulmate and helping them propose to the love of their life and getting to hear all about their backstory. When I was a youth pastor, I worked with a very small church, but my student youth group was all people that grew up very similar to me. It was all teenagers that went through very similar things that I did. I grew up in a single parent household. I no longer have a relationship with my dad. And full circle moment, every single one of my students happen to be going through the same thing. As a salon manager, it is my job to get to connect with others and make them feel welcomed and open and honest and all of that good stuff. So it's just my heart, my soul, my passion. I'm the kind of person that can make a friend anywhere. Feedback I've gotten, I met one of my best friends when I was selling jewelry on a plane because I started talking about how I sold engagement rings, and he drove up from Miami to buy an engagement ring from me.
Wow.
Yep. I met my other best friend on a mountain, and I was a bridesmaid in her wedding. So like, these are just things that I am naturally like gifted in. And I realize that I have a skill that a lot of people really struggle with. And so I want to help people make those connections, find those people, and learn that so much of it roots in knowing your story and sharing that story.
Absolutely, yes. And I feel like I relate to that so much too, because I find myself in these weird situations as well, where it's like either I bring people together or, like this, I find my soul sister on a freaking podcast episode, like you never know where you're going to land. But when you have that natural knack, and I think that says a lot about you and your character too, like you make people feel comfortable enough to open up to you and to be like, hey, like I see your soul and you're a very friendly person. And, it takes a special person to be able to do that and create that safe space for people. So I love what you're doing. And it's something that honestly is not talked about enough, like trying to make friendships, especially in your 30s, and how difficult it is. And we don't have a lot of time for it these days too. Like everybody's busy, they have their lives. So it's like, how do you kind of juggle between, having a family, relationship and friendships and working a 9 to 5 and all the stuff that comes along with adulting. So I guess my next question for that would be, what's your personal journey been with that in regards to making friendships? I mean, you kind of touched on a little bit as to why you got into doing what you did or the journey that led you there. But I would love to know like your own personal backstory for all of that too.
Love that you asked that question, because I honestly think even more than talking about how to make friendships isn't talked about enough, this concept of like friendship grief is something that's not talked about. And I don't know about you or most of your audience, but I know for me, when I was in high school, I always marched to the beat of my own drum. I was very to myself. I had zero shame. I lived life super confidently. I know that's the reverse of what most people experience, but for me, it was college where it really switched. And I fell into this pattern of self-minimization, people-pleasing. I was constantly told in college that I was too annoying to ever be in leadership positions, or that I was too much, or that, if I didn't kind of change who I was or core things about me, I wouldn't find my people and people wouldn't want to hear from me. And I think that self-minimization is something that everybody kind of goes through at some point or another in their life. And you get to make a conscious choice, right? You get to decide, am I going to focus on those external voices and listen to what other people have to say about me? Or am I going to choose myself? And so for a long time, I chose to listen to those voices. And I didn't do it consciously. I wanted friends. I wanted connection. And it was so funny because for me, I almost had it where it was like, I need to prove to them that I am worthy of being loved, that I am worthy of being seen. And what I realized when I really started to get into the shit of it and like do the internal work was that I didn't need anyone's approval to be seen. I was deserving of being seen for who I was, just for being myself. And unlearning those behaviors can be a really hard process, and it's a grieving process, because so many of these friendships that I had in college and in that self-minimization period, I realized that they were friends with an idea of me, but I never gave them the opportunity to really know who I was or what I had to bring to the table. And so, that's got to be betrayal for them too, because they didn't know. And so I really just challenged myself to start really getting honest about who I was, what I wanted out of life, what I wanted in my relationships. And a lot of times that was, challenging, because not everybody's going to agree with what you have to say all the time. Not everybody is going to like yes man you. And I learned that true support isn't always agreeing with the person in front of you. It's listening and then having the courage to say, you know what, like I see you and I hear you and I am with you, but I don't always agree with this, and here's why. And the more I leaned into that, the more I leaned into getting clear and getting honest and sharing who I was and letting people into that vulnerable side of myself, I now have more friends than I ever had. And it all started with that accountability and that ability to really lean in.
I feel like I'm listening to my own story right now. I've had the same exact track record. The amount of times that I've been told you're too much in your life and you let that get to you and you really think like, okay, to be accepted and to be normal in this friend group or work group, wherever the heck, people are telling you you're too much, like you adjust to what you think they want you to be and you dim your light, right? And the resentment that comes with that afterwards that you don't know of in the moment. And then it's like you're not being yourself, you're a shell of yourself and you're minimizing your true personality, and all that's doing is preventing you from meeting your soul family. Because once you tap into who you actually are, and of course all the inner work, and like you said, it's a journey and it's diving deep and getting to know yourself and what you want in life and what kind of friendships you want to attract into your life. And then when you finally do that, that's when all the right people start flooding in, and it's like the floodgates open and it's like, oh my gosh, like you're here for me and like actually me, and I can just be me, and that's such a beautiful thing. And I wish more people could understand that the more you are yourself, the more you're going to attract the right ones. And if people leave, because like you said, and I really want to dive into the friendship grieving that you mentioned as well. And what comes along with that is the people who are not aligned with you, and maybe they don't understand what you're doing in life or work or choices that you make, and that's okay. But you're going to lose a lot of people in the process, and it just means that they're going to be replaced with the ones that are meant for you. And that's what I would kind of like to travel into next, is the concept of grieving friendships and what that looks like for people. And maybe to anybody listening to the show right now that is experiencing that, what are some of the signs or symptoms or things that people will be going through in the process of transitioning to finding your soul family?
Yeah, no, I love the way you describe that. And, talking about like elder emo concerts, like, of course you're going to get that, because that scene is a very outcasted scene. It's very different. And that's something that's so crazy to me too, is like from the outside, people think I'm like a country girly. I'm like a girly pop. Like, I'm sure you get that a lot too. And
I get Taylor Swift all the time, and I would rather literally do anything else in this world than listen to Taylor.
See, I'm both. I'm such a swemo, but like my take on like Taylor, anyway, that's a whole other off-topic tangent. Yeah. And I think that just goes to show that like when we are looking at people from the outside, like that's a great example, right? You look at somebody's outward appearance and you don't really get to know the heart of them. Like, what are you doing? You don't really know who you're befriending. And it's the same thing for us on the reverse, right? Like we look at somebody's outside, we see who they are on their highlight reel, and we want to be friends with that person. But if we don't take the time to lean in and to get curious and to genuinely know them, are we friends with them, or are we friends with an idea of them? And I truly believe that it has to start with, you will lose people. And I think for me in particular, that was a tough thing I had to realize. It's not there's a possibility of losing people. It's not, well, you're going to be your full self and you might lose some friends. Somebody I admire in my life once said that when you start doing the internal work, don't expect the world to stand up and applaud for you. Mm-hmm. People don't know how to do that. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. And so when you start doing that work and you start challenging these narratives, particularly if you grew up in a church setting, particularly if you have done some of that work, don't expect the world to applaud when you start challenging the narratives that you said that you believed your whole life. We as humans have permission to evolve, to become better, to be the best versions of ourselves. That starts with getting honest. And just know that that honesty is absolutely going to make some people uncomfortable. And that is something you're going to have to grieve. Right? Like you can't get around the grief. It's just like any other situation in life. It's just like a death. It's just like, a divorce, any of those things. Like the way out is through. You have to face it. You have to sit in it. You have to be willing to get honest with it. And when we're honest about our grief and we're honest about our emotions, that's when we can really get curious about who we are. And that is how you find your people. You won't find your people if you're constantly living your life trying to avoid being who you are. You won't. And that's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. And I'm out on the other side. And again, I have the most friends I've ever had. And they're genuine, authentic, real connections, because I'm no longer afraid of what happens if I lose people.
Yes. And I've gone through many friendship grievances, and, you go to different chapters of life and you're just not aligned, and you realize that too, or you do heal and you start, setting boundaries or standing up for yourself. Or there's a quote, I forget exactly how it goes, but they basically say people get so comfortable with the watered down version of you and what they can take from you, or what they can, how would I word this? Okay. For me, like, well, Katie always does this, or Katie will do this, Katie will do that. And then like the minute you stand your ground and you set that boundary, it's like, oh, like I don't want to deal with her anymore. Like she's going to stand up. Like I can't take advantage of you anymore. Like, no, goodbye, you know? And that happens a lot. And it's really shitty because grieving a friendship is just as bad as grieving a relationship or a loss. Like some of my friendships that have ended have hit harder than relationships ending for me. And it's because these people, you let them in, right? You open up your heart, like you tell them things that you wouldn't tell anybody else. And then you love them so hard with your heart, but then like when it's not reciprocated and they, you know, they can't level up to where you are, they can't rise to where you are, they want you to stay at that watered down version. It's hard, and it's a really hard grieving process. And I don't think it's talked about enough. And that's why I'm so excited to have you on here and to give you that platform to talk about and what you're doing for women. And I think honestly, it needs to be more of a prevalent thing because especially in adulthood, we do not talk about it enough at all.
Yeah. And something that really helped me too on this journey, just listening to you share, you're right. Like some of my friendship grievances, you know, like my go-to to describe when I'm talking about these things is, I don't know if you're married, Katie, but if you are, like, okay, so I got married really young, and I look at my wedding party now, and I look at my wedding, like who that would be if I was getting married now, and I look at it from years ago. And I used to get so resentful because those relationships had shifted so much, or they weren't the same. And something my husband actually would say to me all the time that I've just really been sitting in is, just because something ended doesn't mean it had to end badly. Just because a relationship shifted and you're no longer aligned doesn't mean everything about it was bad. You can honor who you were in that moment, in that relationship, and find peace in that. And then also find peace in, okay, but we can still love each other. We can love what we brought to the table and just not be the right fit for each other. And speaking of my girl, Taylor Swift, because I do love her, like something that's brought me a lot of peace. I think of the line in Long Live, for those of you who are Swifties, where it's like, when you point to the pictures, please tell them my name. Like, and that's like, that just brings me so much peace, knowing that like, yeah, maybe there are people in my life that I loved so hard as a different version of myself. And I can forgive myself for not bringing my full self to the conversation, for not being able to fully be myself in that relationship. I can recognize that as frustrated as I was at them for not fully seeing me, it's not fair of me to fully say that because I wasn't letting them see me, because I was minimizing in that relationship. So there's some ownership I need to take on there. And I can breathe deep knowing that, you know, they might have kids, they might have families, and they're going to open those photo albums and they're going to point at those pictures and they're going to remember my name and they're going to tell their kids all of those memories about me, just like I would do with them. I would never speak that resentment about them or have ill feelings towards them. And just because you're not aligned with somebody doesn't mean that the relationship was all bad. It served a purpose, right? Every single person comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So, you know, just try and like grieve it and feel sad about it and honor that sadness. And then also know that there's peace on the other side when you get honest about that grief.
Love that. And I'm a firm believer in everybody comes into your life at specific reasons because they need to be there, whether you need to help them heal or they're here to help you heal. Something is happening within that dynamic for a reason. And one day they might not be here, and one day you will drift away and you'll look back at your wedding pictures and no, I'm not married, but I do have like, you know, certain birthday parties. Like my 30th, I had a big 30th party, and like there's certain people that are in the group photo that I don't speak to anymore. And it's like those types of friendships, I can look back and be like, okay, in that season of my life, you were a very important person to me, and I still have that love for you. We are no longer aligned for many reasons, but that's okay. You know, like I wish you well on your journey, and I don't look at those photos with hate or like, you know, I wish they weren't in there. Let me go edit it out. Because as a photographer, as a past wedding photographer, I used to get the requests come in by the time I shot the wedding and then by the time I edited the wedding, I'd get the request be like, can you remove this bridesmaid from the group photo? And all the time it would happen. And you know, people change, and weddings bring out a lot of interesting energy in people too, right? And that's the whole thing, that you just have to be able to just let go. And if it's ran its course, it was here for a reason. And that doesn't mean you're a bad person or they're a bad person. It just means, yeah, you're not aligned on your journey, and that's okay. And I feel like a lot of us cling to friendships that you've had for a very long time, or people who have been in your life forever because you feel like, oh, I've known them since I was 4 years old and like they're my friend. But if you're really not aligned and they're not a supportive friend, it's okay to let that chapter go.
And to that, I would ask, like, yes, maybe you're clinging on to the friendship, but the first question that comes to my mind there, Katie, is what version of yourself are you clinging on to from that relationship? What version of yourself, what part of yourself do you need to let go that you're refusing to let go because either it's too painful or it's too hard or it's, a coping mechanism. But if you can't be honest with a person, one of my signature phrases, you will see this all over my content, is I'm kind, I'm not nice. I am not going to self-minimize. I am not going to change who I am to fit your mold of me. I will clear as kind. I will be honest with you. I will always speak from a place of love and from empathy. But if you're expecting me to be nice, we're not going to be aligned. That's not who I am. It's never who I will be. What version of yourself are you clinging on to that you don't want to touch? And again, the way out is through. You have to look it in the face. You have to let yourself not only grieve that relationship, but grieve that part of you that you feel like has changed, evolved, or is missing.
Absolutely. And I have a perfect prime example of that too. I had my lifelong friends, they were my party crew. And in high school, we did the partying and we would be out every weekend. And like they were the best friend. Like honestly, we had such good times, so much fun. And that was a great era for me. But we stayed friends over the years and I still have a lot of love for them. I still say hi to them, but I don't hang out with them often. But I recently, like a couple years ago, I'd be going out with that crew because, I ended up back in that friend group and I hadn't seen them in quite a while. And I'm completely out of the party era. I've been out of it for a very long time. I literally just work and go to bed. Like that's it. I don't do nothing anymore. Other than my occasional concerts. Yes, that is where I have my fun. But other than that, like I'm not, I don't drink every weekend like I used to. High school Katie, hell yeah, she was out every weekend living her best life. But what I found was the body sensations that I got when I was in that group of people, the anxiety that I had, because my inner being knew I have outgrown this friend group, and not because they're bad people, but because they were still very much in the party era, and that's something they still enjoy doing. And that's okay. If that's where they're at, I respect it. I'm all for it. Like live your best life. But I felt so unaligned being there because it doesn't feel like me anymore. And it's almost like I was looking at myself through like an out of body experience, because I'm just like, this was my old life. This is what I used to do. I've been removed from it for so long. And now that I'm back in it briefly, I'm just like, no, like this is not for me right now. And I will love you guys from afar, but I can't go out and drink with you every Friday. I can't do it. And that was the thing too, that I think a lot of people need to look for, is how are you feeling body wise in that moment? Do these people bring out a good side of you, or do they bring out an old side of you that you've already let go, that you're clinging on to for some reason? And like you said, it's the version of you that you're holding on to, or the experiences that you had with those people. And when you start to question yourself, and that's big on the healing journey, when you start to really deep dive and question and say, why am I still attached to this person or this dynamic? You're going to learn so much about yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, so much of that, like, honestly, to me, it's like, well, it's a coping mechanism.
Yes.
Right? Like healing, again, like healing requires honesty. And if you're hanging out around these people and you're not feeling fully seen, you're not feeling fully present, but it feels comfortable. Okay, well, what feels comfortable? Because I can guarantee you it's so much more comfortable to live your full truth and to be your full self. And to do the thing that feels hard is so much more comfortable long term. Are you coping, or are you genuinely showing up for yourself? Because coping is self-minimization. And every time you self-minimize, you're dishonoring yourself, your story, and frankly, you're hurting the other people around you because you're letting them be friends with an idea of you and not who you are.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people struggle with like fear of like, other people's opinions, like they're scared of what these people are going to think about them. And it's like, if you do level up and you do change your life, let's say you enter into motherhood. Okay. I have a lot of friends that have journeyed into the motherhood journey. I am not there, but they've gone into that journey. And I think a lot of people think like, okay, are my friends going to stick around? Are they going to like me? And it's like, release that control, because the people who do care are going to stay. And the people who are not aligned, you'll separate, you'll remove, or you'll distance. And that's okay. But you have to let go of the fear of worrying about what people think about you too, because that's how you are also going to repel the people that are meant for you, because you're going to be overthinking it so much that you're not going to be letting the right people come in, or letting the wrong people remove themselves too. That's just as important, right?
Yeah. And it's all about intention, right? Like similarly, I'm not on my own motherhood journey. That's not something that I personally want for myself, but so many of my friends are.
Yep.
And I make a point to show up for those people because I want them in my life. So it's twofold, right? One part of that is intention. Who is in your community and how are you showing up for them? The second part of that is, if you're so focused on what you can't let go of and you're holding on to these friendships, these relationships that aren't serving you, you don't have the space or the capacity to make room for what's to come. You have to let go of those things that aren't serving you so that you can make that space. Because if you don't have the space, how are you going to find your people? How are you going to be able to invest in those people? How are you going to be able to be intentional with those people if you barely have the space to hold on to what you currently have and all of that is draining you?
Amazing. I could not agree more on that. So my next question would be, you mentioned the friendship gap. So can you go a little bit more into that and explain to our listeners what that whole concept is?
Yeah, the friendship gap. So there is this concept that I've heard it, but I've also kind of put my own spin on it, right? Where we go through this awkward period where when we're really doing the work and you're really kind of getting into the middle of it, like I said earlier, you are going to lose people and you are going to feel a bit of that disconnect. And essentially, as you're coming home to yourself, as you're relearning who you are going to have a hard time learning how to reconnect as that person, right? It's kind of like a caterpillar that goes into cocoon and emerges out as a butterfly. Like you have to go through that cocoon process. You have to get clear with yourself. And doing that is clunky. Anytime we try anything for the first time, it's going to be clunky. We're not perfectionists. Life isn't about perfectionism. And if you think it is, there's some work to do there. Like you can't just try something for the first time and like expect it to go 100% perfectly. So it's the same thing with making friends, right? It's the same thing with connection. This is something that I, have never struggled with, but I know a lot of people do struggle with this. I'm personally not afraid of rejection. So if I'm at the dog park, I have no problem going up to somebody and just talking to them about their dog. I have no problem if I'm having a good conversation with somebody, I have no problem inviting them to grab a beer. And I've learned that in that gap period, you just got to shoot your shot, right? It's like dating. You feel a connection, you feel something with somebody, you just got to put yourself out there. Again, knowing that probably 90% of them are going to say no, but that 10% that says yes, that's a real shot for connection there. COVID was a really difficult time for so many people. I met so many of my best friends during COVID, and it was literally just by being friends with my neighbors. We adopted a dog the first week of COVID because I am an anxiety, ADHD mess. And
Same.
yeah. So like being home by myself, literally, I kid you not, by the end of the first week, I was like, Matt, let's get a puppy. So we got a dog and we went downstairs. We were letting our dogs out because that's all you could do during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, we met our 2 downstairs neighbors. One of them is my husband's like best friend. The other one is one of my closest friends. And we would just all take our dogs to the dog park at the same time and just start talking to each other. And they form their own little friend group. They have their like cigar and whiskey night kind of vibe. And like I have my girl, Kristen, who I see all the time. And like she's on that journey to motherhood and she lives about 45 minutes away. But because of that intentionality that we started then, because I wasn't afraid to be like, actually, this is a funny story. I had taken my dog out and I was letting her go outside. And my friend Kristen, the one I'm talking about now, her birthday was like that second Friday in COVID. It was Cinco de Mayo. So I was like, oh, we're celebrating your birthday. I'm a big birthday person.
Me too.
And so we literally ended up planning like a Cinco de Mayo dog park party. And that's how we became friends. And I barely knew her. It was literally the first time we ever hung out. And so that's what I'm saying. You just got to shoot your shot. Like the right connections will find you. And here we are 5 years later, still connected. One of my other best friends, Nicole, I met in a boxing gym. Like you see so many people around you day in and day out. And the ones that you're noticing that keep popping up, shoot your shot. Put yourself out there because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to say no.
Yes.
Oh, no. Like, how is your life any different because they said no? It's not. Like, but your life could be a whole lot different if they say yes and you start to form a beautiful connection. So I would just really encourage you, like, if you're in that gap period, put yourself out there.
Yeah, I do. Same. Honestly, same. One of my best friends, we met because we had boyfriends at the time that were playing hockey and we would go watch their hockey games. And I'm a yapper and I yap to everybody. I don't care who you are, old, young, anybody. Grandparents love me. They always yap to me and I will always listen to the grandparents. But I'm like you. Like, I don't care. If you answer me, cool. If not, like, I will survive. It's okay. And yeah, we would sit there every week and it was just the 2 of us. Like, there's nobody else. And, I'd just make random conversation. And to this day, we're not with the men anymore. We have left them and we stayed friends. And that's the thing. Like if I didn't talk to her all those times sitting there watching the hockey games, like I never would have known how beautiful of a person she was. And like that, literally my best friend was sitting right beside me. And I've had a lot of fluky incidents like that too, where, even clients that have turned into friends. And my assistant right now, she's an incredible client of mine. And I put the bug in her ear, she wasn't working at the time. And I'm like, hey, I need an assistant. Do you want to come help? And she's like, yeah, I would love to. And it's like, if I never opened my mouth, I would not have her right now, because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That is my favorite quote. I say it all the time, and you don't know until you try. And what is, like you said, the worst that could happen? I could have talked to my friend at the hockey game and she could have just been friendly and nice, and then it would have never gone anywhere and my life goes on.
Exactly.
What is the worst that can happen? It's worse when you don't try, because you're leaving all these missed connections on the table and you don't know who you're losing out on.
Yeah, literally my friend Lindsay, the one I referenced earlier that I met on a mountain, my friend lives in North Carolina and she wanted us to go on a hike. And this is my like childhood best friend. And I was like, oh, fine. So we go on this hike. I'm with my other best friend who I've known since childhood. I'm like being very dramatic. I'm like, I hate this. This is so much work. We get to the top of the mountain and I look at my bestie Kyle at the time and I'm like, I could really go for a beer right now. Well, lo and behold, my friend Lindsay, sitting across from us on the other side of the mountain, she's like, I actually like work in beer and I have a backpack full of them. And we literally sat there and talked for like 2 hours just about life. And I'm a big Enneagram nerd, so we talked about that. And she's also an elder emo. And we just like had this whole conversation, became really good friends. I was in her wedding in November, like lives in North Carolina, but we both like will fly back and forth and make a point to see each other. And again, it literally started with me being like, I could go for a beer, and her having the bravery to be like, oh, I have like 20. Do you want one? Like,
the reason we're sitting here right now is I made a post and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for cool, badass people to be on my podcast. Come apply. And that's how we connected. And it's like, I would not be sitting here with you right now if I didn't just shoot my shot. And it worked out. And now I have found my elder emo friend, which is great. So,
oh, I know. We're gonna be concert buddies. I just really feel like we're gonna be friends after this too.
The odds of you being in Orlando as I'm going there 2 days later, like, I'm sorry. And then you're going to the same concerts that I'm going to. So I will be seeing, we will be meeting up at those concerts at Warped Tour. I will see you at Warped Tour for sure. 100%.
Yeah. We'll do like a little happy hour situation.
Yes, absolutely. I can't believe that. But again, for anybody listening to this right now, you're watching real time something unfolding right now that I had no idea this human would hop on a video call with me today and we'd have so much in common and be going to the same concert if I never put the effort out there to just connect with a random person on social media, and I had no idea where that post would go. I put it out into the interwebs and I'm like, if anybody wants to come on the show, come on the show. I didn't even know if anybody would comment, honestly. And here we are. So I guess the takeaway for everybody listening to this right now, and a really important takeaway, is shoot your shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Shoot the damn shot, whether it's relationship, friendship, job, whatever. Shoot your shot, because the worst that can happen is they say no and life goes on.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm a big, I really actually have a lot of beef with the phrase, everything happens for a reason, because I think it's very invalidating. But I am a big believer in anything can be redeemed for good, right? Every person has a story. Your story matters. By you shooting your shot, I get to know more about who you are. You get to know more about who I am. And guess what? Those could be pivotal parts of each other's story. That could inspire confidence for me. It can inspire confidence for you. It can inspire confidence for your audience, just because you took a shot and were willing to meet with somebody that you had never talked to before. So any situation, even if the worst case scenario happens, can be redeemed for good. That doesn't mean that happened to you on purpose for a reason, because that's invalidating. We don't do that around here, but it can be redeemed for good.
Exactly. You can use it to your advantage or use it as a learning curve, right? And I think when things happen to people in life, you could either play the victim mentality and be like, okay, everything sucks in my life and this is horrible. Or you can be like, okay, this is happening, but what can I learn from this? What am I learning about myself? What can I fix about myself? Is there something that's mirroring me about this situation that I haven't healed from? So when you start to look at negative things in a positive way as to, okay, it's happening for me, not to me, game changer, game changer.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Are you a Leo at all?
I'm not. I'm a Gemini.
That's why. Leo and Gemini, we're great. We are a great team. We are both so weird and we're so in our own world that we understand each other because nobody gets us.
I'm June 20th, so I'm the last day of Gemini.
Oh, so it just happens to happy belated birthday.
Yeah, and then I'm a Cancer rising. So I feel like I very much lean into my Cancer, but I'm I'm very Gemini.
I'm a Libra rising and a Capricorn moon. So I have the hard worker and then I have the Libra, like trying to balance out the Leo and the Cap because it's a weird mix.
Yeah, I'm the Aries moon. So I'm just like a mix of so many different things.
Yeah, good. I can tell right away. I know my good match signs. I'm like, I know right away you're either a Gemini, Aquarius, or another Leo. Those are my top 3.
Say Leo, Aquarius, and honestly, Gemini are like my top 3s too.
Yep. Because we're so freaking quirky. Like nobody gets us but us. Okay, this is a good one. You mentioned that real connection starts with self-awareness. What are some early signs that someone is out of alignment with their true self in friendships?
I love that question. Out of alignment with yourself in true friendships. So for me, I can't speak for everybody's journey, but I can speak for myself and what I've seen some of my clients go through. If you are falling into the self-minimization trap, the people-pleasing trap, that's a red flag. That's a big sign. Another one that I have seen a lot of in my clients' journeys, right, is when you think about somebody you love, whether it's platonically, whether it's romantically, whatever that looks like. When you are describing how you love them or why you love them, are you describing things about them or things that you admire about them? Are you talking about distinct, I love this person because X, or are you talking about all of the things that they do that they admire? And I think a lot of times we confuse that love for lust, and we get so caught up in wanting to impress somebody or wanting to fit in with somebody or wanting to make somebody else happy that we start looking at that person as someone we admire, but identifying that as love. And that's not love. That is self-minimization in its truest form.
That hit home. Like I've never actually thought about it that way either. Cause you think about that in, relationships sometimes, but like for friendships too. And I was like, when you were saying that, I was thinking back and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like I've met some people who it's like, I just want to be you. Like you're so cool. Yeah. And it's like, you have that energy of like, how can I just like be accepted into your world instead of like, who actually are they at the end of all that? Like take away all the cool things that I think are neat about you, but like, who are you at your core? Do I even like that person?
Yeah. And how do you feel when you're with that person?
Exactly. And then I think the other thing too, that a lot of people get into the habit of is like, what can they do for me? And it's like, if you have a friend that's always overgiving and like, if you call them, they're going to be there to help you. But like, do you actually like the friend or you just like the availability of them or, how they're always around when you need them to be? Like, you really got to stop and think like, what is drawing me to this person? And do I actually just love them for who they are? And like, if there's other reasons, you got to reevaluate that because that's, no, you got to love people for who they are at their core, flaws and all, mess and all. And those are your people at the end of the day.
That love should feel like safety.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't feel like safety, it's a red flag.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Point blank, period.
Big time, big time. And the things you learn as you heal. And you learn that the hot guy that you're like, oh my God, you are my dream. Stay the fuck away from him. The one that makes you feel safe. That's the one that you, follow that.
It's the same in friendships as it is in those romantic partners. Like, again, like, and then when those people have their like claws in the back of your head, like a lot of times talking about that friendship grief and all of that good stuff, when you do leave a relationship, when you do leave a friendship, you'll still hear their voice in the back of your head. And the thing I always tell my clients to say is, they are not saying that to me. They are saying that to an idea of me. They don't know who I am.
I love that. I love that so much because they have clung on to that version of you, right? And like, let them have it. Let them have that. I think when you do heal, you don't care to control the narrative anymore. Like, at least for me, it's like, do these people have a vision of me in their head of who I used to be? Sure. And like, if that's what you want to continue to believe, you do that. And you just got to keep rising. You got to keep going and you got to keep stepping into your authenticity. And then the right people will come in and you got to just let go of the attachment to how people perceive you too.
Their inability to be accountable is not yours to carry. Your thing to carry is how you are showing up for yourself and how you are being accountable to yourself. And are you doing the work? And if not, that's something that we can address. But you can't fix other people. You can't control how other people feel. You can only control yourself. That's why, like, when there is conflict, I love that phrase of when you did X, I felt Y, because nobody can make you feel a certain way, right? Like, you are responsible for your own feelings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Their inability to address that is not yours to carry.
And one thing that's changed my opinion too is everybody's projecting their own insecurities, right? So if you do have a friend that, let's just say, they're a little jealous that you have something going on, or you bought a house. I bought my house very young at 21, and it was a lot of mixed emotions that I had from a lot of people. And some people were very supportive, and some were like, you could feel the jealousy creep in, right? And it's like, I used to take that to heart, and I'd be like, why aren't they like happy for me? Like if you bought a house, I'd be so happy for you right now. But it wasn't received the same way. And the older version of me now, 10 years later, I look back and I'm like, it was a projection, right? Like, they weren't at that place in life. And when they can't show up for you in those ways, you got to learn not to take it personally too, because that is a huge thing at the end of it. It's just projection. And you can't control that. That's where they're at in their own journey. And you can't take that to heart either.
Yeah. And I would say again, to me, that doesn't feel safe. That doesn't feel like you can celebrate your own accomplishments. That doesn't feel like you can be your full self in that moment. That's a red flag.
And then the people who are your people, I just released a journal not too long ago, and like the amount of my friends that just ordered it, and I didn't have to tell them to, and they're sending me pictures of it, and they're like, oh, I got your they haven't journaled a day in their life. They don't give a shit about journaling, but because they're like, oh my God, I'm going to support her, and I'm going to buy the journal, I'm going to leave a review, and be that supportive friend. Like, that's the people you need. Like, even if, again, they don't understand what the hell I'm doing, half of them don't care about feminine. It was a journal about feminine energy. And I'm like, I know half of you guys don't give a shit about this, but thank you, And like, those are the people that you need to try to attract into your world. The ones that will see you for you, love you for you, and support the fuck out of you, because that's all we need at the end of the day is just supportive friends, whether you agree or not, just be in our corner and just love on your people. That's it.
People who see you. It comes down to intentionality and a genuine desire to be curious and to know the other person. And that is what creates safety. And if it's not safe, it's not for you. Let it go.
It's not for you. Let it go. Write that one down. Anybody listening to that, write that down right now.
Yeah, because again, you've got to make space for the things that are for you.
Absolutely. 100%. I love that. So for somebody listening that, they've heard our stories, or just they've had their own revelations with their own friendships, and they've constantly heard the term, or they've even felt it within, that they're too much. And, it's something you've struggled with, I've struggled with. So for the people out there who can relate to that, how can they reframe that thought process? And how can they learn to accept that, you're not too much, and what are some tangible or actionable things that they can do to start rewiring that part of their brain?
Yeah. This question gets me every time, because too much was my personal narrative that I fought against for such a long time. And the thing I would say that really helped me was giving myself, and it sounds so silly, giving myself that space to grieve. Giving myself that space to grieve the way other people saw me. Giving myself that space to grieve that I couldn't be what they were wanting me to be. Not because I wasn't capable, but because I didn't want to. And that was never true to who I was. Giving myself the space to feel the full spectrum of those feelings, whether that was anger, whether that was sadness, whether that was frustrated, fill in the whether it was happy, fill in the blank. And really getting honest about my own story. And, again, I love that phrase that I just shared a couple of minutes ago. When somebody tells you are too much, they are not saying that to you. They are saying that to an idea of you. They do not know who you are. And just repeating that over and over and over again has been so affirming for me, because a lot of times when those negative voices creep in, you don't have the energy to sit there and fight back, right? We just don't. But we do have enough energy to sit there and say, you're saying that to an idea of me. You don't know who I am. And the more you affirm it, the more you'll get curious about who you actually are. And once you start to get curious about who you actually are and what your own story is, you'll realize that it was never about too much. It was about coming home to who you are and feeling comfortable in that. So that would be my advice on that. That's been my own personal journey. That's something that I work with my clients on in my 12-week groups. So that is a passion soapbox topic for me. Too much is a lie. It is a bold-faced lie. And it's coming from people who not only don't know you, but don't have a genuine desire to know you. So let yourself feel all the feelings about that. Give yourself the space to grieve about that. And for some of us, it's family. Like for me, it was my dad for a very long time. It could be a church deconstruction journey. It could be a friend. The things that they are saying are not true. And you have to just let them. And as you start to grieve that idea of who you are and how they are seeing it, you'll start to find curiosity about who you are. and living it.
Do like a little round of applause thing, a little audio clip in here.
Oh my God.
Nailed it. Like that I couldn't have explained it better myself, you know, and I am somebody deep on that journey. And I had a relationship and, you know, the friends that came with that relationship as well. And I felt like I was always too much. And I was told that I was too much. I was told I had to tone myself down. And you know what? I believed it. I believed it for a while, and I did. And I became a shell of myself. And you live with that resentment for so long because it's like, no, like how dare you tell me not to be me? Like I'm a cool person. I'm an awesome person. And the minute I stepped into who I am, I started hosting women's circles, and now I set a space for women that come to heal and open up because I've opened up and I've shown who I truly am. I've created all of these spaces within my business. We do retreats too. So it's like I have opened up this avenue of my business that I never would have had I not gone through, you know, repressing that version of myself and then coming home to myself. And with all of that you said in the part of, you know, telling yourself that these people have this vision of you or the version of you that they're clinging on to, that is exactly how I had to remove myself from that equation as well. And I let them think whatever they want to think. It's not my responsibility to change their opinion on who I am. And they won't ever know the true me because I wasn't being me. And they'll never get to experience that. And that's the cool thing, you know, the people who are meant to be there.
And then get honest again about that part of yourself that you're clinging on to, that they are holding on to. That version of yourself, like grieve that. That is the way out is through. I cannot say that enough times. Like the way out is through. And until you give yourself the space to really sit in it, you will continue to be resentful. And resentment's not a bad thing if it's channeled with good and with intention, if it's channeled with honesty. So like give yourself that space, scream into the pillow if you want. And then from the outside looking in, look at that relationship and say, what version of myself am I afraid to let go?
You have to go through it to grow through it. That's the quote. And you have to sit with it, and you can't run from it. You can't, you know, disguise it or try to avoid it or drown it out, or, you know, like you have to sit in the discomfort and the icky feelings. And that is the only place you're going to meet yourself. And you can't meet other people till you meet yourself. And it's impossible because you're going to continue to keep living these false versions of yourself, and you're going to adapt to whoever is in your circle at that time. And you're never going to find your authentic people. So that was a great takeaway for anybody that is listening, that you're like, okay, like, where do I start? You know, like I feel like I'm too much for people, and like nobody's going to understand me. They will. The right people will. You have to let go of that fear because that is what's holding you back, you know? What do you wish more women would understand about cultivating real sisterhood in today's society?
Yeah, I love that question. You know, one of the key taglines in my own branding is spiral with purpose. And the reason I say that is because, you know, that messy middle is where we like find our people. It's where we find that true sisterhood. And so we talk about this idea of sisterhood, right? But it can feel like such an ambiguous topic. And I would say it starts with safety, and that starts with bringing your full self to the table. Like talk about your spiral. Find your people that you can be honest with. Find your people that you can be like, oh, today was rough and this is why. And then the same people that will also like be down to book a flight to go to a festival with you. Like find the people. Yes, right. I'm your girl. I will book I have the Frontier Go Wild Pass. I will book a flight tomorrow. But like sisterhood is all about just like authenticity. It is all about, again, that safety to be yourself. It is all about giving yourself that space to spiral with purpose, to lean into the messy middle, to find people that will sit with you and see you in that, and that will genuinely listen to understand rather than listening to respond. I feel like a lot of times we tend to have these conversations and we're just thinking about what we need to say, when really what we need to be doing is looking at the other person, hearing what they have to say. And it may not be about the words. It might just be about you being there. But the right thing is going to be the right thing. And it, again, stems from a place of honesty and safety.
Absolutely. Oh, my goodness. And that's something I've had to really work on, too, because as a fellow ADHD queen over here, you know, sometimes we unknowingly cut people off because we're trying to remember our thought. And I've had to actually, you know, listen to that. And I actually had a friend once, you know, call me out on it. One of my best friends, she's like, listen, she's like, every time, you know, I tell you something, it's like, you just like, you turn it to yourself. And I'm like, but I'm not. Like, I'm just trying to relate to you, because that's how we connect with people, right? We say our own experiences that go hand in hand, thinking that we're connecting, but not everybody connects like that, right? And I had to be really mindful of that. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then it forced me to sit there and think about my relationships with everybody in my life. And I'm like, I do that a lot. Like, I cut people off, not to be rude, but because I'm literally just trying to remember what I want to say. And I've had to really work on training myself to do that, even to sit here and host a podcast and like actually listen to what you guys are saying and not just try to think of my next things. And again, getting comfortable with the discomfort. If there's an awkward pause after and I have to try to remember my next question, oh well, I'll edit it out, like it is what it is. But actively listening, that's where you connect with people too, right? Because you're seeing somebody. And I think true love, whether it's friendship, relationships, whoever, is just being seen. We all just want to be seen and understood and heard. And when you're living so much in your own head and worried so much about what other people think of you, you're not seeing other people for who they are. Right. And it's this vicious cycle of everybody feels, not seen and not appreciated. But all you got to do is just listen and just literally take people for who they are. Don't try to change them. Don't try to, give advice when you don't need to. Just be there for them. Be there and listen. And sometimes that's all you need to do.
Yeah, sometimes it's not about the words. In fact, I would argue most times it's not about the words. It's about being curious.
Exactly. And for the people out there that are listening and they're like, okay, where do I meet people though? Again, in your 30s, we don't really go out like we used to go out anymore. It's not like you're at a bar every night meeting people. So I would say go to places that light your soul on fire. And for us, concerts are a great way to meet people. And, that's where we are being our own true authentic selves, or at least I am. I feel like most people who love concerts, we can all relate. That's why I'm saying us. But for me, in my experience, I am so myself at a concert and I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. I am screaming to my screamo beats. I am living my best life. I don't give a shit about nothing. I don't care about work. I don't care about how many emails I have. I am here and I am being me. And I have met so many amazing, incredible, beautiful people at concerts that I am still friends with to this day. And it's mind-boggling how the minute you put yourself into that situation where you are being yourself, that's where you naturally meet people. So my advice to anybody listening would be like, if you're struggling on where to meet people, go to places that set your soul on fire. If you like to work out, go to yoga classes, gym, Pilates. I go to Pilates. I meet people there all the time. Go to places that you love to go and you are going to find your people. And it's really that simple. Join a couple classes. It's not that hard.
Yep. Or start paying attention in the places you're in every day. The dog park, again, I've met so many of my friends at the dog park. Like, just be observant. Coffee shops. Like, if you have a coffee shop you frequent and you see somebody else who's there all the time, right? A conversation. One of the easiest ways to do it is through complimenting. Now, you have to do it in a genuine way. Don't compliment somebody if you don't like, don't say, oh, I love your outfit. If that's fake, don't do it. But if you genuinely like their outfit, say something.
Oh my God, I had that experience today. I had to call in Canada, it's called the CRA when we were doing taxes and stuff. And, I had to call one of the ladies and she was so friendly. And usually when you get people on these government phone calls, they're not friendly. They're just like, hey, what do you want? And it's like, be nice, But she was so lovely, bubbly. And at the end of our call, I just felt this pull to be like, thank you so much for just being so friendly. These phone calls are I don't know. I'm not a numbers girl. Okay. When I have to deal with taxes and numbers, it's not my realm. Okay. So I'm already overwhelmed dealing with taxes. And I told her, I was like, you're so bubbly and friendly. Please don't ever change. Your light, or what did I tell her? Your energy is so beautiful and don't ever change. And she almost cried. And an older woman, she's like, I am not kidding you right now. She's like, that is the nicest thing anybody has ever said to me. She's like, I just want to let you know, thank you so much for making my day. And it sounded like she was walking on a cloud. And I wasn't doing it to befriend her. I wasn't doing it to make her like me. We were done the phone call and I just felt a need to say you were amazing. Thank you for your personality is amazing. Don't ever change. And maybe in that moment, who knows? Maybe that woman got told her whole life she's too much. Maybe she got told she's too bubbly. Maybe she got told, she talks too much. And I loved that about her because if I met her in person, I'd be like, hell yeah, you're freaking cool. Let's be friends. And if you don't say these things and you don't open up these avenues to compliment people in a genuine way or just make conversation from the heart, you'll never know. And that woman right there is sitting there on her 9-to-5 job today, having the best day of her life because I decided to say one random thing from the heart. And it really is that simple.
Yeah. We overcomplicate it. You don't need to overcomplicate it. You just have to show up. Again, be yourself, be present, be genuine, shoot your shot. If I could encourage anybody in one thing today when it comes to putting yourself out there, maybe just shoot your shot. Worst thing they say is no.
That's the takeaway. That is the one takeaway from this episode. If you do anything today, shoot your shot in some way this week. Step outside of your comfort zone. It might scare the hell out of you. It probably will for the first couple times, but it gets easier. And the more you do it, the less you care. And you never know what might come from that experience. And I think that's an incredible thing. So I love that.
For example, I found a new bestie.
I cannot wait to talk to you off the camera.
Yeah, I can't wait.
We're going to yap the hell. I cannot wait. Oh my God. I actually told my assistant to, because we were just about to hop into the call. And I was like, first of all, she's an elder emo, loves concerts. I was like, second of all, I'm literally going to her city in 2 days. And I was like, the universe. And then I was like, third, our whole conversation today is about friendships. And I'm like, if this is not a sign from the universe, I don't know what the hell is.
Screaming at us.
Literally. And then you're a Gemini and I'm like, oh, we're going to be weird together. Love it. Can't wait.
Oh, I know. And I'm one of those, like, I used to get made fun of in early college. My husband actually made fun of me for this because I did it to him when I first met him. I used to go up to people and be like, hey, I'm Courtney. We're going to be best friends. Like, that was my, like, go-to line. I did it to my husband. I did it to a bunch of my friends in college. And, like, so if I say we're going to be besties, girl, we're besties. Like,
same thing. That's so funny. I used to work at, I don't know if you guys ever had it in America. It's called Future Shop. It's like a Best Buy. And I worked there and we had a team of people and I started this little trend and I would call everybody friend, right? And I'm like, oh, hello friend, hello friend, hello friend. And it became my little thing. And then I turned that when I became, and then when I became a wedding photographer, I used that and I was like, oh, I'm going to be your best friend. And like, that is truly what happens though. Like that's the energy that we have where it's like we can make friends with anybody, anywhere, any place. And it made the environment so happy sometimes because everybody would be like, oh, hello friend, hello. And like that, it just, it's just be your damn self, be friendly. If you're bubbly, be fucking bubbly. The minute I turned that off and I tried to tone myself down because I thought that's what people wanted me to be, I was fucking miserable. I was miserable. It was not me. And you lose your spark. And I think the big telltale sign is when your people, your actual people, the people that love you, when they say you've lost your light and you've lost your sparkle, that is a huge indication that you are a complete shell of yourself. Because again, they gravitated to you for that sparkle and they'll know when it's gone. So if you have people in your life telling you you've lost your sparkle, listen to them.
Yep.
Definitely listen to them. And just step the hell outside of your comfort zone because you never know. You never know.
Yep.
I love that. I love that
Love it so much.
I love it. Alrighty, Miss Courtney, I have a couple more questions for you before we wrap it up here. Yeah. But if your younger self could look at the friendships that you have today, what do you think she would say to you?
Should be so damn happy. Should be so happy. I think of my inner circle, inner committee, my people. They have all shown up for me in just the most incredible ways. I feel like they see me. I feel like I can go to any one of them and I'm able to be the same version of myself across the board. I'm not having to like show different versions of myself or water myself down. Again, little Courtney, I would go around in high school saying like, I'm a Fruit Loop in a world full of Cheerios. And I like had like a quote board that I would have on my little wall in my room. And that was one of them. And my family would always make fun of me for saying it. But like, it's true. Like I'm so myself. I'm a weirdo. And like, I've found my little inner committee weirdo circle and I just feel so celebrated and loved because of who I am and not because of who I'm trying to be. So she would be so happy.
To anybody listening, I want you guys to ask yourself that question, maybe do a journal prompt about it, but dive deep into that. What would younger you think about your friendships right now in your life? And, Courtney has a great story, but maybe yours isn't. Maybe you're sitting there right now and you're thinking, okay, you know what? My friendships aren't aligned with where I am and I'm not being myself and I'm a shell of myself. Maybe that's your breakthrough moment that you need today. So what would younger you think about your friendships right now at this stage of life? So
I love that question.
Right. Me too. The deep dive, that's the Gemini in you. That's the inquisitiveness. And you know what, Leos, we love your mind and you love like our chaos. So it's
that's perfect.
Okay, to wrap it up here, really quickly, I always end my podcast episodes the same way. And if you had one piece of advice for anybody listening to this right now, it could be anything at all, what would you tell them?
Yeah. I would say start getting curious about who you are and your own story. Lean into that idea of I'm kind, I'm not nice. Be clear about what you want. Be honest about what you want and do the work. And that phrase sounds so vague, but truly give yourself that space to grieve. Give yourself that space to be who you are. And I can't wait to hear about in a year from now when you decided to make that decision, where it ended up. And just know that it'll be hard, it'll be clunky, it'll be a struggle, but it's an imperative part of your story and your story matters and you never know who you're going to impact by sharing it. So do the work specifically because your story is important and it matters.
I love it. Powerful. Amazing. That was incredible. And I guess our one little final wrap up here would be if anybody wants to get connected with you, because you did mention, you have some group coaching opportunities and you do have a lot of fun things that you offer. So I would love for you to fill everybody in on where they can find you and what you offer.
Yeah. So all of my social media is the same. I am at Spritz Girl Mindset. That's going to be TikTok, Threads, and Instagram. Or if you want to go to my website, that is thespritzgirlmindset.com. If you do go in there, I do have a free ebook resource for you. If all of these things that I'm talking about sound intriguing to you and you don't know where to start, we do offer Spritz of Connection group coaching. And those are my 12-week programs where we really get into this work, where you are challenged to not only share your own story, but also I teach you how to form those friendships, how to ask those questions, how to get curious in a smaller group of people doing that same work and that are there for that safe space. So if that's something you're interested in, shoot me a DM. I'd love to get you connected to it. And then I have my podcast as well. I'm the Spritz Girl Mindset podcast that launches every Thursday.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining on the show, Courtney. I cannot wait to rock the hell out with you at Warped Tour.
We're going to have so much fun.
We have so many things to plan here now. I'm so excited.
Me too, girl.
And if anybody's going to Warped Tour in Orlando, see you there. But
no, we'll do a cutie little girl meetup hang.
We should do a little follow-up episode. Let's do it. And we'll do little reels. Oh my God, we'll be so cute. Oh, we'll be so extra. I love this. I live for this.
I love it.
You guys are witnessing a friendship happen in real time. See? Take our experience for what it's worth here. You're watching it. But it's been absolutely amazing talking to you, Courtney. I can't wait to progress our friendship. And hopefully everybody out there that listened to the episode today is able to take something away with them on their own journey and find their soul family as well. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.